Still around and bigger and better than ever. His latest podcast, which is available at BillBennettShow.com, is called Need Help Translating Trump. I don't think we need any help, but in case we need some help, he's here to join us, the one and only Bill Bennett. Dr. Bennett, sir, how have you been? Merry Christmas.
Hey, Mike Gallagher, how are you? I like all that intro, especially he's still here. Yes, I am. Yeah,
along with
age, we say that.
And Mel Brooks is too, right? I mean, high anxiety.
Yeah. High anxiety. Listen, if the president can cause fires in California and global warming,
yes,
and general anxiety, why can't he cause high anxiety at the border? This is so nuts, and I am so glad he's stepping up to this. And this, apart from doing the right thing, this is exactly the best political move he could make, isn't it?
Well, not only his move, but it's unfolding just the way he said it would.
You're right.
A few weeks ago, Jim Acosta and others tried to lecture him and say, there's no such thing as an invasion. There's nobody scaling any walls. These are just little old ladies and children in strollers. Well, that's funny. It didn't look like little old ladies and strollers last night, those hundreds of illegals trying to storm the border, did it?
No, it didn't. It looked like mostly men, mostly young men. I noticed some of the other media, other than Fox, tried to emphasize the babes in arms and so on. But it was mostly young men. And no, this crowd is exactly as he predicted. And it's happened exactly as he said it would happen. So he's right. The only just refinement that I'd make is this is an acute problem, but it's part of a chronic problem, right? Which is coming in every day, whether it's 500 or 1,000 or 1,500. We have people moving at each side of our border every single day. He has finally said, this is going to stop, and I'm going to stop it, and God bless him for doing it.
Well, I mean, it's one more example of the president being thoroughly vindicated, and you're so right. I mean, Bill, I think we could make the case that everything that created the climate for him to be elected 2 years ago is coming to fruition, because when he came down that escalator and he was widely derided for his remarks about, other countries, notably Mexico, not sending their best. We already know from Homeland Security that there are hundreds of criminals embedded within this caravan. They're not exactly going to be Boy Scouts when they come across the border into the United States. But this is, I think it's fair to say, this is why he got elected.
Yeah, no, I think, and if you go back and think of the campaign, there were 2, 3, 4 issues. This was the number one issue. This was the one, I think, that dominated in people's minds in terms of we don't want to be pushed around anymore. We don't want to be marginalized anymore. This was the capital letter issue.
Hey, I've been interested in your take, and I'm so glad, by the way, that you could join us, and I hope you and the lovely Mrs. Bennett have been having a great holiday season.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the podcasts. I hope everybody goes to BillBennettShow.com because you also get it on iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify. We see on Fox News all the time. I wanted your take, your assessment of the war of words between President Trump and Justice Roberts. The president said something about an Obama judge. Justice Roberts felt a need to jump into the fray and say, there's no such thing as Obama judges or Trump judges or Clinton judges. And it seemed to me most people said, wait a minute, of course there are. There are Supreme Court justices who are appointed by a particular president. Was President Trump wrong in pushing back against Chief Justice Roberts, Bill?
No, I'll put on my philosopher's hat. We have a distinction we used to teach between the ought and the is. Saying something is, saying something ought to be. What Justice Roberts was saying was what judges ought to be: independent, thoughtful, mindful of the Constitution. However, that's an ought. That's the way things ought to be. That ain't the way things are.
Right.
And the way things are is, of course, you have liberal judges. Otherwise, why would they have put up this massive effort to stop Kavanaugh? If they didn't think that this guy was a conservative. Of course he's a conservative. Justice Roberts is wrong here. By the way, this criticizing of a chief justice is something other presidents have done. Go back to Jefferson and go back to Abraham Lincoln, who had a big fight with Justice Roger B. Taney about the Dred Scott decision. Dred Scott was a slave being brought into free territory. So he's in the tradition of Abraham Lincoln here. He's not a renegade. he's in a great presidential tradition.
The great Dr. Bill Bennett is with us. He's the author of the book, The True St. Nicholas, Why He Matters to Christmas. It's a beautiful book. There's new updated information and material for 2018. I'm going to try to twist your arm in a minute and see if you can help us with our Red Kettle campaign, because I have a feeling that your magic pen might help get us thousands of donations for our Red Kettle. More on that in just a moment. But Bill, I was thinking of you yesterday morning when I read Maureen Dowd. I don't know if you saw this in the New York Times, but she wrote just an amazing piece about her family and how she's got now she is the notorious, liberal columnist for the New York Times, but evidently she's from a family of conservatives, which is certainly a fascinating dynamic. And I thought about you because you and I shared stories and anecdotes at the very beginning of the Trump chapter in our nation's story. Friends of ours who sort of can't believe that we wanted, Trump over Hillary, couldn't believe that we would support the Republican over the Democrat, friendships that were strained, relationships that were damaged. And she writes about the fact that she had, with her brother, her older brother, that they have a strained relationship and she doesn't know how it's ever going to recover. And I have to say, it was a pretty moving column. Yes, it was. Because she talks about the reality of families who differ. Right. Tell me a little bit about the Bill Bennett world, because you are, I say this respectfully, you're a Beltway guy, you're beloved in Washington, D.C., and yet I got to believe that a lot of the circle, the people in the circle you've run with, have been surprised at your support for President Trump.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, beloved, I don't know, with a qualifier. We're not invited, even despite the loveliness of Bennett, to as many dinner parties as we used to be. I've thinned out my Rolodex. Some people who I thought were good, close friends, even close staff members, and now never Trumpers on the other side, and it's been sad. But specifically to the column, Mike, she talks in that column about her brothers, who one of them coached at Georgetown Prep. Georgetown Prep is the high school,
correct,
Jesuit high school where Brett Kavanaugh went, where
correct,
my sons went.
Right.
I mean, we're in that little Catholic circle here, right?
Right.
In Maryland, and so we know these folks, and what she's talking about is very real. And our brother's reaction to her acidic columns on Trump is genuine, and I think probably we saw that echoed in a lot of homes across the country on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I want to. In fact, after our segment, I want to talk to callers who had some unpleasant conversations over Thanksgiving dinner. I'll bet that happened a lot, Bill.
Yeah, it did. Not at our table. We were unanimous. And it was our older son, John. You know John.
I do.
Who led us to Trump. He said, "You guys just got to get with Trump here." Yeah. And so we looked, and then we signed up. Can I just say a word about the book?
Sure. Oh no, please do, please.
True St. Nicholas. It's I thought the old St. Nick was at one point just the nickname for Santa Claus, but it turns out it's a real person, St. Nicholas, born in 280 A.D. And just a very quick story. This guy is the son of wealthy parents. They die. They leave him an inheritance. He's a very good young man. He hears about this family that is very poor. He goes to their house late at night so that he can remain anonymous, and throws a small bag of gold coins into the window, and it goes into a shoe or stocking.
Wow.
Okay, begin to sound familiar?
It does
that
indeed.
Story winds its way through the centuries, and this becomes Santa Claus. And that's what the book's about, how this guy who wanted to be anonymous actually, ironically, becomes the best well-known gift giver in the world. He's a bishop of the church. It brings a little more religion back into Christmas, which is okay with me.
It's a beautiful hardcover book, and in fact, every part is got a beautiful illustration that I love. It's just a beautiful book, and I want to see if I can't coax a little holiday goodwill from you. We're in the middle of our Salvation Army Red Kettle campaign. It dawned on me, if I could get you to personally autograph a donor's book, I think, what do you think, $1,000 for a personally signed copy of Bill Bennett's The True St. Nicholas? Would you be willing to sign some books for $1,000 donors for our Red Kettle campaign, Dr. Bennett? Do you mind if I put you on the spot?
Send me the names. I'll sign 3.
It sounds great. Wow, perfect. 3 books, $3,000, just like that for Dr. Bill Bennett and the True St. Nicholas, Why He Matters to Christmas. Just call right now. Call Lance, and he'll take your contact information if you'd like Dr. Bennett's book. And it really is. It's a beautiful book, perfect Christmas gift. And he does matter to Christmas, and he was real, and he is real, and Bill Bennett is real, and we're always great to hear your voice. Please give my best to Mrs. Bennett and your beautiful family, and I hope you and the Bennetts have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas season, Bill. I hope everybody goes to BillBennettShow.com to get your podcast, and come back and visit with us again real soon. Okay, Bill?
You bet I will. You remember, she didn't always listen to my 3 hours, but you always listen to yours.
I'll never forget. I'm glad you remembered.
Show.
I didn't want to remind you, but I'm glad you remembered. Your wife has.
I want to leave the room.
Your wife has marvelous taste. Mrs. Bennett has great taste. Thanks, Bill. Merry Christmas. Keep fighting the good fight, my friend. Thanks, Bill. Bill Bennett joining us, and he'll sign. That's great. 3 books. So if you're interested in a copy of Bill Bennett's The True St. Nicholas, he'll personally sign it for anybody on your Christmas gift list for your $1,000 donation to our Salvation Army Red Kettle campaign, and he'll sign 3 today, so we get a quick 3,000 for the Salvation Army Red Kettle. If you're interested, call Lance right now to give him your contact information. Lance knows what to do. Call right now at 1-800-655-MIKE, 800-655-6453. And Bill will personalize his the message inside this beautiful hardcover book. And if you're watching on the stream, I'll hold it up for you on camera. It's a beautiful book, The True St. Nicholas, Why He Matters to Christmas. It's all about the reason for the season, about the story of the real St. Nicholas, the true St. Nicholas, and it'll be a great gift for anybody who loves Bill Bennett, anybody who wants to be reminded of the reason for the season, and you're going to help a whole lot of people, deserving people who are benefited by the Salvation Army and our Red Kettle campaign. So again, if you want to make a $1,000 donation and get a copy of this signed book from Bill Bennett, call right now, 1-800-655-MIKE, 800-655-6453, and Lance will take your contact information. And thank you in advance for your support